Okay, I'm Maya Hasegawa. I'm serving as the interim chair of the Brattleboro Development Review Board. And it is, was it 7:02? What time is it?
7:01. 7:01.
7:01. And I'm calling the meeting of July 20th to order. I have some opening remarks that I'm required to read because this is a quasi-judicial hearing. At the DRB, we hear applications for land development in the town of Brattleboro and appeals of zoning administrator decisions. Procedurally, the Development Review Board operates on the record. Broadly, this means that we take a clear record of testimony from the applicant and any interested parties, and then issue a written decision with our findings. Applicants and members of the public should be aware that as we are on the record, this is your opportunity to comment on and provide evidence relating to an application. Application materials and written testimony is posted to the town website as received. Hearings may be continued at the board's discretion if materially important documents are received after the submission deadline. In the event our decision is appealed to the environmental court, the court will not take or consider additional testimony at its hearing, but it will look at the evidence from our hearing, the regulations, and determine if the evidence support the findings and decisions of this board. Only interested persons that participate in this proceeding may appeal a decision made by the board, so I strongly encourage all of you to speak up at this hearing. So, as we are on the record, I'm going to ask that you affirm that your testimony will be truthful. So, would anybody who's online and is planning to speak, please unmute yourself. No?
Yes, Maya.
Okay.
David Levenbach.
Thank you, David. Anybody else online planning to speak?
Seems like no.
I guess not. So will everybody in the room that's planning to speak to any of the agenda items please stand? I hereby affirm that the evidence I give in the cause under consideration shall be the whole truth and nothing but the truth under the pains and penalties of perjury. Please say, I do.
I do.
David?
I do.
Okay. Thank you. You can sit. Applicants require a majority vote of the full board to succeed. That is 4 votes out of 7. If we do not have a full board present to hear your application, then we will consider a request to continue your application to the next public meeting. So we have 2 board members who are online, and there are 3 of us here. So we do have a quorum, and we have 5 people. Okay? So if anybody, we're going along and you decide you don't want the 5 of us to make the decision, you can ask for a continuance at any time. Okay? After taking testimony, the board will close the public hearing and may vote on your application. The board will issue a written decision within 45 days of the close of the hearing. While we may vote on an application tonight, it is the written decision that controls the timeline for appeal. It should be noted that the town of Brattleboro does not have a special status before this board. Documents provided to the board by the town planning department, town attorney, or other town departments will be considered in exactly the same way as information from the applicant and all other interested parties. And I have a motion to approve the minutes of June 22nd.
I so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that the minutes of, what did I say, June 22nd be approved. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye. So that's 4-0 to approve the minutes of June 22nd.
I'm a new member, so I abstain.
Yeah. Okay, all interested parties took the oath. Brian, has the meeting been properly warned?
It has, with the exception of the Dompier Keith appeal. The hearing notice wasn't posted at the property, so the town will be requesting a continuation until the next meeting so we can correct the flaw.
Okay. Are there any conflicts or ex parte communications? Michael?
Yes, on the last one on the agenda,
Okay,
the conflicts.
okay. Okay, so that means that for 2286, which is bar 580, we will only have 4 members hearing your project. So if you think that's going to be a problem, we can continue it to the next meeting when we get to it on the agenda.
I think that should be fine.
Okay. I'm going to appoint Tom Mozakowski, did I say that right?
You did?
Who is a new alternate member to hear all the cases on tonight's agenda. Okay, the first item is 2022-77, and I believe, Brian, you're going to ask for continuance?
Yes, the town is requesting for a continuance so we can have it properly warned.
Is there a motion that we continue? Don't even know when the August meeting is.
The 17th.
That we continue 2022-77 to the August, you said
17th meeting.
17th. I'm sorry, it's too
I
hot.
move.
Catherine
Move.
moves. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Tom seconded. All in favor of continuance? Nora?
Aye.
Catherine?
Aye.
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have another person, Dan, for the board. So now we have 6. So, okay. So the next item on the agenda is 2022-76, Derrick Brooks for District 802 for 28 Vernon Street, Urban Center District, request for conditional use and site plan approval to approve a cannabis indoor grow facility. All right, we now have,
Full board.
we now have 7. It's a miracle.
Definitely quorum.
Okay. So do you want to introduce yourselves and discuss your project?
My name's Derrick Brooks. This is my partner, Aaron Howe. We met earlier in May about 73 Main Street. We've decided to change that location to 28 Vernon. And yeah, I think that's a good place to start.
Okay, can you explain the location and what you're planning to do? Where is it exactly?
Absolutely. So it's on the third floor of the 28 Vernon, which is the old Marlboro College building. So it's in the Bayada unit. You can see in the map that I've drawn the two larger rooms, or I'm sorry, the map that I provided, the two larger rooms is where we plan to cultivate, and then the other rooms will be used for storage and various types of like control and things like that.
What's the square footage?
Of that whole area, I believe it's around 1,500, and the grow space will be just around 500.
Sure. I guess I would just ask for confirmation that there will be no exterior changes.
Not at all. Yep.
The exception, there will be mini split units on the roof, and they'll be in conjunction where there's an existing mini split unit or a condenser unit for the air conditioning. So there'll be air conditioning handling units on the roof close to the structure that's already there.
As far as visible, like on the walls or things on the outside, there won't be anything visible from there. Yep.
I mean, I think that was understood in your application. Nothing was proposed for exterior changes, but just want to confirm that.
And you can see the only bit of structural work that we want to do is I circled a door there that we were going to relocate. That's literally it for structure change.
We've already had our fire safety inspection permitting process completed on this, and there's minimal fire safety changes that are going to be required to be made, which was the main reason for changing venues from the 73. There was significant upgrades and improvements required for life safety.
Unfortunately, it ate up our entire budget, so we had to switch gears. Yep.
So you're not gonna have any signage at all on the door, or you're not gonna have any signage on the outside?
No traffic. There is on-site parking there, which would be used for 2 vehicles, which I believe is well under what was previously used by Bayada at the space. No.
Is there a window in this space to the outside?
There are multiple windows. The grow space, the windows will be closed off internally, but they'll still be visible from the outside, and there's blinds that will be shown inside. So from outside, you won't be able to see any changes or difference.
Could you go into a little bit of detail about your odor prevention program? Well, you know, what type, do you have a brand or a name of systems that you're getting to control the odor that might show up?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got it approved through fire safety again. We found, I'm not exactly sure the material, but we're going to basically encase the room so it's completely enclosed, because we're also going to be infusing with CO2. And with that, we're also going to be scrubbing, recirculating inside, anything out, and anything coming in and out will also be scrubbed with carbon. And we use CANN filters, and it's really high-rich charcoal carbon that it gets scrubbed with. And then from there, we're actually going to scrub it one more time before it leaves our room, just to really make sure. So we're going to basically do 3 stages of air scrubbing to prevent any odor from escaping. Yep. Want to add
Following
anything
up
to that?
with not necessarily concerns for your project, but just in general, the performance standards for noise and odors and things. This is just for my own clarification. Brian and the board can answer for me, please. When it says will not result in undue adverse impacts beyond the property line, that literally does mean the larger property line. It doesn't mean internal to the other units in this sort of case of a multi-unit, correct?
Yes,
That's
Okay.
true.
So the outer property lines.
The outer property. Have you talked to your neighbors you're gonna have neighbors on this floor?
We haven't talked to them. We've talked to the owner of the building and property manager.
So do the other people on the floor know that you're going to be growing cannabis?
I don't know that if they've been I don't know if they've been told by the property manager or not.
'Cause that part does concern me a little bit, that you're gonna be in an office building, essentially, with a lot of other tenants. And, while, because of the state regs, we can't keep you from growing, it does concern me, and I just wanted to put that on the record, that if you haven't talked to the people that are other people that are gonna be in the building, and gotten their input into what you're doing, then that just concerns me.
Maya,
Yes,
I have a question for Brian. Brian, when you say that they were warned, weren't all the people that are on that floor, weren't they warned about the meeting today?
No, they're not interested parties.
I'm sorry?
They're not interested parties. They're not property owners. They're not neighbors. They're tenants, and any impacts they can mitigate by leaving.
So,
they're also renters of the property.
well, that kind of is up to the property manager to let them know.
I would agree with that, Catherine.
And I mean, when we got the brewery in our building here with our landlord here, he essentially told us, but that only because of what they were brewing. But I mean, I would think the property manager would let them know who he's renting to if he so desires. I'm sure they'll ask him.
Now, that would be a good thing to double check.
Well,
Okay, are there any other questions about this project?
I just want to ask one question. It says the town has permitted the flow of capacity with a letter. Do you guys have a letter with that? With the amount of sewage?
We
Water
had,
discharge?
we actually are going to be using less than the previous location,
Okay.
and we had that approved through the town.
It's a much smaller area.
Yeah, we're actually
It's only
starting.
500 square feet of grow space. I don't know if you heard that, Derrick.
Okay, that's yes, what I basically want to know how much is going to be coming through.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Dan has his hand up.
Dan?
Yes, hi, everybody. Guys, this is on the second floor, and I was just Googling the address. It seems like your neighbors include a tattoo parlor, Voc Rehab. I'm not sure how current all this is. USDA services so there's quite a mixed number of tenants. What would the path be from the second floor past those other doors, if you could give us a sense of that, for both, importing and exporting, for lack of a better word, into the unit?
So you can see on that diagram, there is a door. So ours is at the bottom. There's a door at the top of the unit, and right across the door is the elevators.
Where the two crosses are.
Yeah, the two crosses on the map are the two elevators. And then I believe if you go to the right, the stairway is the bottom right corner of that diagram.
Yep, right next to our unit, right there is the stairs.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right there.
Yep.
So those are the two exits from our area to the common space and then to the outside.
And actually, this is on the third floor. The space to the,
Okay.
directly to the left is a common workout space that the landlord supplies. And I think there's only one other actual functioning business on this floor currently. I know he is trying to rent more.
USDA.
Yep, and it's the USDA. I believe everything else is currently not in use, from my understanding.
The entire fourth and fifth floors are vacant right now. The second floor, Vermont Yankee or the North Star, I believe it is, has just vacant in most of the space on the second floor as well.
Which, explain to me again, where is it you're going to be doing the growing? I'm still a little confused.
So if you look at that diagram that's pulled up right there and the highlighted, we'll be growing in the right-hand portion of that, the two rooms that are on the right.
Yes.
It's a little bit,
Okay.
it's actually a little, the top room's actually a little bit larger. It looks like the wall got moved down maybe a foot, to the bottom from what this original drawing has. Not by us, but this was by previous tenants, but yeah, it'll be those two rooms there.
The other rooms will be support rooms,
Dry
control
rooms.
rooms, dry rooms.
Yep. Processing.
And where would be your drying room?
Bottom left corner.
Okay.
Excuse me.
And a large room there
The top left portion there.
yeah.
That will be where our reservoirs, as well as like a utility sink and things like that, as well as storage. So that'll be like a lot of where our controls and things are for both of the rooms.
And just for that would be where you'd be going in and coming out from this whole thing would be through that doorway into that largest room.
Correct. Yep. There won't be any plants in that room.
Okay.
Yep.
And are you going to put up some sort of a double door, like a lock there or anything, to try to keep odor from emanating through the?
There'll be filters within that room as well as in the main hallway space as well.
I'm just saying, like,
Oh, yeah.
if you open the door,
And it poofs out. Yep.
stuff tries to fill the room that's available to it.
Absolutely.
So the two main grow rooms will be completely sealed, airtight, with CO2 injection, and then they'll be recirculating carbon filters in there. And then in the main space, there will also be carbon filters there, just to scrub the ambient air there. And then we'll also be placing one in the hallway just to clean air that's outside. Just try to 3-stage clean it, just to do that extra step.
It's, like I said,
It's like our
That's our main concern. So
our main concern too.
well, yeah, people get
Yep,
upset about stuff that.
absolutely.
that
So
they
we're
don't
going to go above and beyond in every manner we can, and if there's any issues, that would be the first thing that gets cleared up. We have no desire for anyone to be upset about our situation. So
So the wall between the two grow rooms, that's going to stay there. So you're going to have two separate rooms. Anybody have any other questions? Nora?
Well, if I could just reiterate my question, I guess if you're on the third floor, then you're going to be passing through the second and the first floor. So if you could give us an idea of the other tenants you're passing, either in a staircase or any sort of idea of that. I understand if you don't have the floor plans, but if you could articulate that.
yeah, the floor plan is up on the screen right now.
No, for the second and first floor.
It's the same layout as that third floor. They're almost mirrored. I mean, the interior walls that are broken out for tenants are different, but the elevators and common space are the same. And we would basically be using the elevator from the third floor right to the lobby area and out.
And insurance would require us to take certain means for security to get it to exit the building as well.
There will be no traffic as far as there's no retail in the space. There's no vendors coming and going. When our product is moved, it'll be done once a month, once every 2 months, and brought out. It's logged at all times that it's transported.
Well, I hate to, I'm not going to nitpick with you, but just one example, the tattoo parlor is on the second floor, I believe.
Okay.
Is that in your path of ingress or egress or anything?
No, we don't have to stop on the second floor at all.
Okay, I see.
They're going to be using a common elevator without stopping.
Okay.
And what about odor control on the elevator?
So all of our packaging is going to be done inside. So we'll be packaging the product, sealing the product, and then it'll be double packaged and air sealed and negative pressured before it leaves the space.
Nora, do you have any questions?
No,
Catherine?
nope.
Anybody else?
Well, just, I guess one last thing. Now, if I'm not mistaken, because I'm pretty familiar with that building down there with Vermont Associates that will be opening up again. And you got Holsteins and all that. So
It's not the Holsteins
No.
building.
it's further down on the second floor.
Holstein's
No,
a
the
different building.
Holsteins. It's
Separate.
a different building.
Right, but that is a path that goes right down to it. There is a ramp that goes right
Sky
down.
Bridge you're talking about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there is.
okay.
So yeah, I go in there kind of Voc Rehab. You got job down there too. Everything else is there, but I'm just thinking if there's any accidents or any spills and all that, how you guys accidents do happen? How you guys hazmat wise? How do you plan on the cleanup process
For hazmat?
Yeah. If there's anything that spills chemically or anything, how do you guys?
There won't be any hazard chemicals, but the floors will be completely sealed and moppable.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any comments from members of the public? Yes. Can you come forward and state your name and where are you from?
Yeah, so my name's Pierre Landry. I'm the facilities manager at the Holstein Association. And I'm here representing the Holstein Association. Myself and officials, we've discussed this project, and so we just wanted to come to tonight's meeting to just, express our concerns about having this type of facilities. So if you're not, it sort of came up, if you're not familiar, One Holstein Place is connected to 28 Vernon Street.
I had forgotten about that.
On two floors.
Yeah.
So basically, we're just down the hall. There are doors that are closed and secured, but there are times that they're open. So their facility is going to be, they're on the third floor. The bridge that connects us is actually on our second floor that connect to our cafeteria and our business training room. So we, the Holstein Association, are not in favor of this conditional change to allow, basically, it's a commercial agricultural growing facility. Basically, like putting a greenhouse in an office building. And with an independent building connected to it, basically down a hallway, we just don't think that it's a reasonable location for this operation. We have some major concerns. First is security. I haven't heard anything about that tonight. And it also appears that security, from watching the video of Mr. Brooks' last meeting, they made some statements, and even in their application it says, we don't even want the public to know, this is a quote, we don't even want the public to even know that our business exists for security purposes. So what extra precautions does the Vermont Cannabis Control Board require? The town of Brattleboro? What is Mr. Brooks proposing? 28 Vernon Street is a public building. The doors are unlocked, the outside doors are unlocked. Public access throughout the entire building. So we have security concerns as well. As I mentioned, we're connected by the bridge. They have security doors. There's times when those doors need to be unlocked. And we already have a lot of people coming to our facility, the Holstein, looking to get across, through our building, across to 28 Vernon Street. So, you know, security is a major concern for us. And like I said, I haven't heard anything about that. Flipped the wrong way. And then one of our other major concerns is environmental effects. Again, we're right down the hallway. And so I don't know how you can totally seal off those spaces. There's HVAC systems within that building, sprinkler systems within that building. There's fresh air exhaust through, and it's all through ducts throughout the entire building, even down through the bridge. So there's a high potential for odors to emanate. We also, I know, again, watching the video from the last meeting, it was basically admitted because the odor came up for outside. And I guess this would be actually going off the property boundary if it does get over to the Holstein Association. But in the last meeting, it was basically stated that it's impossible to control all the odor. And it was talked about, you know, Brattleboro has like an offensive odor ordinance. And there was, I don't know if it was their council, but someone was part of their party via Zoom. And his statement was that not everybody finds the odor of marijuana offensive, but that, you know, if it's traveling off property, especially into an independent office building, we just can't approve. You know, we just really are not in favor of having this operation in an office building. We're not against cannabis growing. Our feeling is that we're so close. It's an office environment. It's sort of surprising that the other tenants in the building are not aware of this and aren't here speaking. But I guess we think that this type of operation belongs in a standalone building, in an area that's zoned agricultural, not in downtown. And when I think of this type of facility, I picture the facility that's on Route 10 in Berniston. To say that the public's not going to know what's going on, that it doesn't exist, I think we're kidding ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, just a reminder to everybody that the state regulates what the towns can actually review, and we have to treat this particular use the way we would any other site plan or conditional use. We don't get to review security concerns. That's regulated by the state, and they have to meet those standards. Odor is something that we do regulate on all conditional uses, so that's an appropriate thing for the board to consider and address.
We also, the state has been very clear, and Tom, you can chime in, about where towns can approve and not approve growing facilities. And I personally have some questions about what the state has decided, but it can be grown. if we grant conditional use approval in a commercial area.
The state has also decided that by definition, this is not an agricultural use.
Correct. Now,
Don't ask. You can come up.
I mean, whether it's agricultural or, you know, it's a greenhouse. I mean, you could be growing roses. It's still a lot of environmental concerns, with water, humidity, CO2 levels,
The performance
temperatures.
standards you're talking about, that's something the board can review. Yeah.
So, oh, sorry. Can I address the?
Yes.
yeah, please do.
Okay, so humidity will be completely controlled. This is going to be a completely controlled environment and monitored. We have industrial humidity control that is industry standard and is being reviewed by Efficiency Vermont and approved by Efficiency Vermont. The lighting, humidification, air conditioning, all the environmental controls. This isn't going to be a greenhouse brought inside. This will be more like a lab environment.
It's a laboratory.
Highly controlled. Again, okay.
I'm just wondering if you could share that with your neighbors and also the requirements of the Division of Fire Safety. I think that reveals the level of detail that they're going to be regulated at, and that might be reassuring. It would be useful to see.
Has the board seen, the plans for the equipment being used? Have they got like submittals of the equipment that is going to be used? If it's going to be completely enclosed and sealed, that requires removal of the sprinkler heads. You're sealing
The sprinkler heads will be exposed.
okay, and so the ceiling tiles are all going to be airtight, so nothing will be able to get up into the ceiling tiles.
We won't be using the HVAC system for that area. We have mini splits that are going to be completely segregated.
So all that ductwork's being removed or
being
sealed
closed
off.
off. Yes.
So my question is, has the board seen all those plans?
So those are covered by the state building permit, and the Division of Fire Safety regulates that.
Okay.
And then it will be regulated by the Cannabis Control Board. But again, it would be good if you could share those plans with your neighbors so they see the level of detail that's being required of you.
Patrick Banks did confirm that this is an acceptable use for a mixed-use building before he was able to give us that permit as well. Yep.
I do have a copy of the building permit with its conditions. I could share with you later if you'd like.
One of the first things he brought up was security. And I guess, where do you, could you speak to that?
Sure. So again, we're going to be highly regulated by the Cannabis Control Board and our insurance company. They'll be doing multiple inspections. We have to have security cameras inside and outside of our area. All the doors will be locked. You'll be able to exit from the space, but not enter without keys or...
Are the walls to get in there, are they solid, glass, how are they, I mean, from the outside, you say there's windows, but internally, is that all?
It's hardwood door and drywall. I mean, someone in theory could take a hatchet and axe and cut through the walls, but we'll have a security system internally with motion sensors and door sensors. Excuse me. It's very specifically covered under the insurance policies of what's required. It'll be professionally installed, not by us either. We're required to hire a security company to install that. I did reach out to HSS and inquire about that as well. It was a local security company.
And I was going to ask Brian, but he's gone. Maybe as far as you're concerned with odors and smells that might be escaping from the facility, we are try to figure out, make sure that they're doing things in a way that would not create a nuisance. But if in fact it is, maybe, Brian? If, for instance, odor becomes a nuisance with their neighbors down the hall, so to speak, what would be their course of action? Would be to contact you with a nuisance complaint?
Yeah, that's correct, because it would be at the border if it started to get into your building, so they would have to correct at that point.
And they would be fined, or how is that?
They would be given an opportunity to correct voluntarily. If they did not, then they'd be issued a formal violation. That violation could be appealed to the DRB. If they did not win that appeal or file appeal or fix a violation, then they would be fined. And that would be by ticketing at first. After a number of tickets were issued, if it were still an issue, it would be taken to court and we would seek an injunction to have the violation cured. And the fines at that point would be $200 a day. So there's a real compulsion to meet the terms of.
There is a mechanism for it.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's just for zoning. There's also civil remedies, which I'm sure you don't want to have to. You wouldn't want to get into a situation where you're suing your neighbor for adverse impacts, but the town would pursue a zoning violation.
That's within compliance with the cannabis regulations as well. Because I'm pretty sure they're going to get involved.
I don't know what they would do, and I don't really want to speculate, but
Right.
the performance standards are just standard. It's a standard review criteria that we apply evenly to all uses. We're allowed to do that. We're not really allowed to get into areas like security or even energy conservation because those are all regulated at the state level.
Right, exactly. And I guess the last question is now, if I'm understanding, I know I'm getting to that age of remembering, you said your neighbors had no problem or they didn't run opposed?
They don't
We
know.
don't know.
So you don't know. So that being said, what's the next step, I guess?
Well,
I think that's really up to the property owner.
They, for us, their neighbors don't need to be, that's all, they're renters, they're not
Right.
owners.
So they would have to be pretty much like this gentleman, they would have to file a complaint if there was an issue.
Yep.
Okay.
so are there any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the board? Catherine, did you say something?
Nope.
No.
Sorry to interrupt, but one last thing, zoning violations, they can be triggered by a complaint from the public.
Does the board choose to vote, or would you like to go into deliberative session after we've finished the rest of the agenda to talk about what we've heard? Our charge here is to grant conditional use approval, basically.
Just looking for a straw poll, or
Any
Motion.
comments, anybody?
I would vote.
Are we ready to vote?
Well, if I may say, I think if we did have an executive session to discuss it, we're basically focusing on the compatibility of the site.
Yes,
Is that correct?
we would be focusing on whether to grant conditional use approval at this particular site.
It's compatibility with the purposes of the zoning district, not the other uses in the building.
Right.
Right.
I think it's worth going into executive session myself.
Deliberative, not executive.
Excuse me, deliberative.
I would second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we will enter into deliberative session at the very end of the meeting after we've completed the administrative.
But it hasn't been voted on.
I said it's been moved and seconded.
Yes, but
We
that's
go-
not a vote.
Yeah,
She's
I
getting
haven't
there.
gotten to that yet, Catherine.
All right.
just said, it's been moved and seconded that we go into deliberative session at the end of the meeting, after the administrative matters and new business have been taken care of. So I'm going to call for a vote. Nora?
I,
An aye is to go into deliberative session.
correct.
Tom?
No.
No. Dan?
I,
Catherine?
No,
Gary?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes. So the vote to go into deliberative session is 5-2. So we will go into deliberative session at the end of the meeting. So what that means is we will talk about it, we may vote, we may have you come back.
Somewhat, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right,
How was the vote?
5-2.
5-2.
Oh, I was against. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I was
It was Tom and Catherine
Tom and
that were
Catherine.
opposed.
Dan, you in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
yes, mm-hmm.
I got a little scrambled.
Yeah,
Can I just ask a quick question?
sure.
What zoning regulations are we not abiding by at this facility?
It's, the board hasn't made any decision on
We
that,
haven't
but the written
decided.
decision will
That's
make
what we're
findings
gonna
on conformance
discuss.
or non-conformance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is 2022-86, bar 580 for Vermont Re Development LLC Neighborhood Center. Request for conditional approval to operate a bar with entertainment at 580 Canal Street. And you can sit there as long as you don't say anything, or you can go in the audience, whatever you feel.
Back up. Yeah.
You'll back up.
You can back up. So turn your name around, you know.
So Michael is recused from this discussion. Okay. Do you want to introduce yourself and talk to us about your project?
Sure. My name is Derrick Soldensky. I want to open a bar 580. It's actually a shared space with 4 restaurants, but it'll be serving alcohol. It's in the Exit 1 Outlet Center. The building itself's been fully remodeled. There's a nice outdoor patio, and the idea is to have just food and drink inside that space.
You said something about entertainment?
Yes, so right, indoor, we'll have music indoor in the bar space.
And it's directly adjacent to that deck outside, right?
Correct.
Do you have any ideal ambitions to, or options to maybe do music outside someday, if allowed, or it seems fine?
Yeah, I don't know if we would need to necessarily. I mean, it would be nice if possible. Yeah, something maybe look at in the future if it's allowed.
Is it possible we can bring it up because I can't really read the little print thing?
And while they're doing that, no external changes as part of this permit?
There are no external changes.
Exterior changes, what I meant to say, okay.
Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong package. Okay, can you talk to us about the lighting on the patio, the outdoor lighting, and what that's going to be like?
So right now, I don't believe that there is any outdoor lighting, but it would be low level lighting. It would also be LED, so it'd be low energy lighting. That's my best understanding of that. It's basically currently with whatever the building is. I don't know if there's any additional lighting that's going to be added outside to the patio space.
So was for the permit for the whole building some months or a year ago, was lighting reviewed?
Yeah.
Exterior
Yes.
lighting?
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah.
like it falls under that unless they're gonna do something
Yeah,
different.
that's why I wanted to know if they were gonna have, if you're gonna put any additional
No,
lighting,
there'll be no additional lighting.
not lighting on the tables or anything.
I guess there could be a candle, but no.
How many BTUs?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, I didn't quite see in any of these schematics like the actual location of the. I mean, I think it's in the bottom right corner.
Yeah, so this is the approved site plan from an earlier permit
Yeah.
application for
Yeah.
the redevelopment of the whole site.
Whole site, yeah.
Can you
So
point
this has
out
been on file.
where the patio is?
I believe it's about here.
Which is north, facing north on that direction?
Yeah.
Yes. So it seems to be where that mouse is right now. There it is, right there. So it's it would be on the south east corner of the building, which is right there.
Can you mark that?
Yeah. Here.
Oh,
I
okay.
can do it again if that's.
I didn't see the yellow.
I'll make it red.
Can you enlarge it? My eyes aren't what they used to be.
So, I mean, this is the lighting page. I can move this to a different part of the site plan.
That would probably be helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Is the deck entirely on that south west facing side,
Yes.
or does it wrap around the back?
It does not
at all?
wrap around. No.
Okay. Because that, if it, without wrapping around, it seems like the building blocks any winter view to the nearest residence. You know what I mean? Like looking at satellite view, there's the, career center and a chapel, but then looks like 65 Atwood is the first residence, but the corner of the building blocks that.
There's no visible line of sight to any residences
And it's a
from
far
that space.
distance anyway.
And that's the outlet and the business behind there, that's,
Well, it's the high school, I believe, is what's behind the
Yeah.
outlet side.
oh, okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's raising his hand.
Dan has his hand raised.
Oh, Dan, sorry.
No problem. Just, I suppose if we could shift from the site to, in the application, the sections concerning traffic, that's D, section D, E, vehicular access and circulation, F, parking and loading, and then pedestrian access and circulation, G, I guess I might throw in there landscaping and screening, but what are your thoughts on saying, I understand the need to, just starting from the top there, that there'll be no impact on the town's transportation infrastructure, or saying that there won't be a significant increase in traffic volume on Canal Street. But the timing of I just want to get your thoughts on the timing of traffic, parking, the potential for pedestrian use of Canal Street at what I would assume would be in the evening.
The hours right now are kind of fluid in my mind. I would think maybe we would be open to 10 o'clock on the weekdays, so we might see some traffic around then. I mean, it's also being carried by the restaurants that are in the space. So I think if someone intends to go to dinner, you know, maybe that's like a 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock on the later weekdays. On the weekends, maybe on Friday and Saturday nights, it would be open later, 11-ish, maybe 12 even. And then Sunday would be more of a daytime kind of a thing. So it kind of falls in line with the regular outlet hours during the day. And then in the evening, I guess it could be a little bit busier. I mean, I would prefer to be busy, but I mean,
Of course, yeah, makes
let's see.
sense.
We have a lot of parking there. I don't know about the public transportation. I can't speak to how that would be affected in any way, but I mean, it's a pretty busy location as is. There's a freeway, you know, on ramp and off ramp right there on Route 5.
So from my experience of being up there, even by Irving and doing my own site surveying, because you have also the hospital that's on the other side. I don't know if that little food truck is out there, and looking at spaces up there, there is already an influx. No buses really go up that way. There's no bus well, actually there is to Guilford to go to Omega Optical.
Yeah.
Now, certain times during the day, there is an influx between 4 and 5. So the evenings are good if you're looking at 6 or 7, from my experience. And then plus with doing the bridge too. So there is a lot of influx of traffic on Canal Street lately. Between that and also when school starts. So when you're operating, are you looking at a certain time in the evening, like 9? I mean, you haven't figured that out quite yet. I think you should do a traffic survey, honestly,
Yeah.
to really get a better idea of what you got going, because it gets busy on Canal, really, especially when the train comes. So that, take into consideration, I was up there and dealing with Irving, because Irving is right there too, and then traffic overflowing into that gas station also over there. Then you have the hospital with their parking on the other side. And then I looked at the parking spot up there on the other side. Just going up there, there's so much traffic and trucks coming and delivering oil and other stuff to Irving. It gets busy at Irving. It gets busy up in there too. So I don't know what the capacity of people you're going to have.
I'd have to speak to the fire department about that still. Yeah.
Okay.
I would ask, is that traffic study, would that have been conducted for the building's general use?
I think they might have did one earlier with the outlet.
The traffic impacts for the building as a whole were too small to conduct a traffic study.
Okay, but this from my personal experience, being on Canal Street and living on, the traffic all the way up top, it's, you know, with the bridge project, it gets backed up from GS Precision, people getting out at a certain time, then the school and all this, it really gets hectic.
Right, it's one of the busiest roads in town.
A lot of
so-
people want to build businesses, as we know in the past, and the traffic flow up there, the street's not built for
That's
that.
one of the reasons the current zoning is directing it towards a walkable neighborhood.
Right. To
And
walk or ride your bike.
exactly, and this adds to the mix of uses.
Dan, you mentioned parking and landscaping and one other thing, which were all approved when we approved the site plan for the building. I'm not pedestrian access,
Pedestrian,
and
yeah.
all of that was approved when we approved the site plan for the building as a whole. So this particular project will not require any changes to that unless you and the building owner decide you want to do something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's, you know,
I don't intend to do that, no.
okay.
Yeah, understood. My comment was directed toward the timing of the usage, you know, the traffic patterns and pedestrian traffic across, possibly crossing Canal.
Well, I think that you're going to have to look at hours and look at the traffic on Canal, and then figure it out.
I agree. I would think that, let's just say if on the weekdays, people are getting out of work and that pushes them till 7:30 maybe, where it would probably be among the busiest times, I guess, would be then. And after that, I would assume just much less, I would think, but yeah, right, I'll look into that.
Because the physical therapy is only going to be during business hours,
Yeah.
normal
Right.
business hours. And so the parking on the other side of the building will be probably will be vacant for the most part.
For now, yeah.
And
Also,
V-Trans reviewed the site plan for the project as a whole, and they did not have concerns with traffic generation.
And if I can clarify for the record as well, in terms of parking, locally speaking, our current parking standards take into account what kind of use is anticipated in each one of the internal units when we approve the site plan. So the parking demand that would likely come from this use was already anticipated when that was approved.
yeah, we talked about restaurants and whatever when we approved the site plan.
And I believe there was a talk of that other area in the back was gonna be where he owns, I think it's by Burger King, was gonna be built for parking as well. It's in the back, so you have additional parking.
Yes.
So you're good.
Are there any other questions from the board? Yes.
Is there, my name is Stephen Page. I own the gas station next door, Burger King, whatever. Is there a problem between 2:30 and 3:30 when the company on the hill lets all their employees out? That clogs up the whole of Canal Street, all the way from where the cars get out, all the way down through to where the cars try to get out and all that. And another question I have, is there any zoning or anything like that for being next to a school?
In terms of a bar? No, we don't have a buffer of schools for a bar use.
Yeah, there's nothing in the zoning regulations.
Okay, even though it's sitting next to a school?
It's also over 1/8 of a mile as the crow
I'm
flies.
sorry.
It's over 1/8 of a mile as the crow flies from the entrance of the school. If we're talking about BUHS.
I don't know if they have an emergency gate out the back of that
They do.
school or not,
Yes.
which enters right into the parking lot of the outlet center.
So the Prevention Coalition has requested the select board restrict liquor licenses around schools, and the select board has not adopted that policy,
Okay.
for better or worse.
And then like I say, all the traffic coming from the plant at 2:30 when they all evacuate the building up there.
Yeah, I don't think you plan to be open in the afternoon during the week, do you? Or do you?
I mean, it's kind of a fluid situation. The idea is to probably more in the evening time, but if it's good for business and those people would want to come in and have food after work or drink after work, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
But
again, you had a mega obstacle, you have the
GS
Precision, you also have the yogurt factory. So those three alone, at a certain time, along with the school buses that come out and people getting gas at his gas station, the entrance, that's gonna probably be a little antsy. between that time, and I would say it's between 3 and 4, about that time, when people finally get out and go home and everything. So it's just having that thought about what, that window, so you'll have a better idea of when to, because a lot of people just want to get out, go home.
That's what I'm thinking.
Get their kids and all that. So that
Right.
school hasn't started yet, but just, factoring that in. So that gives you an idea with that, like I said, with the bridge project and all that and everything else going on. And it's going to be
Gary, this is Nora. To me, having this as additional use isn't going to add to the traffic in the area. The traffic's already there.
Well, no, I understand what you're saying, but we have spoken about this before about another situation that someone wanted to build on Canal Street, and with the influx of traffic alone that's already there, present, I'm just giving him just an idea where he could calculate and figure out when's the best time to operate.
We have already discussed this when we okayed the site plan. We talked about the traffic, the influx of traffic, because the different companies that may be renting space there. I don't think that this is going to make that big of a difference.
I agree.
Well, that's saying it's making a difference, just giving him an idea of what's there.
Well,
That's all.
That's his
That's
responsibility.
it, right, exactly. That's his determination, how he wants. So just giving him that openness, like we did with the other people that came in before and asked that, hey, can I build this here on Canal Street? Well, just to let you know, traffic is gonna be there, boom, boom, this is what's gonna happen. So we're just, give him that insight so he can make his own decision on how to set up time and all that. So it's not deterrent in any way, it's just giving him that idea. Because I live right on Canal Street, I see everything.
With this area being state jurisdiction roadway, their traffic study is public record that you could review if you wanted to see what's in that. But
All right, thank you.
Got a question for the other DRB members or staff. Are the answers to those lettered criteria that the applicant answered, are those binding? That's part of the application as well?
Yeah.
So when they wrote, we will have live music indoors, and the memo interpreted that as exclusively indoors, but then he's open to the idea of possibly having it outdoors if in the future, if that works. Can we invite editing that now?
You can place conditions, you can edit any of those findings or add to them. Those are just draft provisional findings, and in
You're
this
saying
case,
the
they're
DRB can when we make a determination?
exactly. So those are based on the application, and then you can
We can
add
make
or
it a
subtract.
condition.
Exactly, yep.
I mean, in my mind, I don't know how much we say opinions right now, but in my mind, being right next to the highway, 2 roads on 2 sides, outdoor music doesn't really concern me. So I don't feel like it needs to be a restriction in there to only have it indoors. And no houses,
Right.
around there either.
School's closed.
The school's closed, so.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, I said he has in the application, the applicant put an answer about performance standards that the live music will be indoors, and that's, I guess, interpreted to be exclusively indoors, not allowing outdoors. But he already expressed when I asked, would you like outdoor music possibly in the future? And I think he said, yes, if it seems like the context will be good for it. And I would be open to editing that now to allow it because of the roads and no houses close by and the school closed during typical live music hours. Just not to put, undue restrictions in the
What about all the
application.
houses on Generous Street?
On Generous
There's 8
Street.
of them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on the opposite side. The building, I feel like, would
No, it
block a
isn't.
lot
It's
of the
right on
noise.
No,
It's right on the end
Generous
of the
Street
building.
is right.
Generous is on the other side of the building from where this deck is.
it is, yes, Tom is correct.
So the building would be, the bulk of the building is between
No,
this deck and Generous Street.
no.
We have it there?
I'm circling where the applicant will, and it's actually more like this.
Can you see the
Generous
screen,
Street.
I can see it.
sir? Okay.
Generous
Street's
Street
okay.
is, well, I think that's the back of a property that's on Generous Street. I believe Generous Street would actually be.
Oh, that's the north
I
end.
can't, Generous Street would be something like this, but actually a bit further up.
Right.
In the staff memo, there's a distance
Where the
measurement.
southbound end is where the entertainment's going to be, or possibly going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, I've had my hand up for a little bit. May I?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to get into the topography and doing a sound reverberation study or something like that, but I can tell you that the, given that you have the interstate highway and the hill that goes upward, kind of bowl-like toward the career center, getting to the application, the section N, saying we will have live music indoors, okay, and so indoors, and should impact the environment beyond the property line. If you had open windows, you're going to have sound reverberating that will, especially it is rather quiet at night, except for the trucks and so forth. So I want to put it out there that I appreciate the idea that it's it is a fairly directionally a good direction, but it may actually be the opposite, or at least just as the same as if it were on the back side or the other side of the building. It may not matter as far as sound traveling. And I don't know if we need to debate that, but I don't think that should be on the table as far as it being on one side of the building or the other, because it's not going to matter.
The sound is coming out of the back of the building, and there is a big field right there where he has some of his equipment stored. And it's open all the way to the 7 of the houses on Generous Street.
To simplify matters, I would suggest the board consider just what was applied for, indoor entertainment. Outdoor entertainment might need more evidence on sound levels, ambient existing sound levels, both to the south of the building and to the north. And I think it would be hard to address outdoor entertainment tonight without that data. So
Yeah,
it's a matter of experience, I think you should
That is what I was
proceed.
gonna say. That, let's leave it as indoor.
Okay. Yep.
We can always revisit that later.
I'll point out the typo there that says "and should impact the environment
It
beyond the
should
property
not.
line." Let's change it.
It needs a not.
Right.
Yeah, I put it on my
Oh,
copy.
that's yours is the official
Actually,
copy,
I-
right?
Can I get some confirmation that that is a typo?
It is, Dan. Thanks for pointing it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I had noted that when I read through this. Are you planning to put a sign on the outside of any kind?
I don't plan to put any signs if the building has approval for signs. Generally, for all of the businesses in there, I would like to be included in that sign space.
Should. I would move that I would add to the condition that the signage can be administratively approved. If that's not an issue for anybody on the board.
Is there a sign up already?
As some board members may recall, there's a controversy about the sign in front of the building as a whole. it does not meet the signage regulations.
And we gave them a year to correct it.
Yes. So I don't know whether they'll be coming back to deal with the sign, and we can deal with it at that time. Or if you want to sign before that happens, you can get it administratively approved.
Okay.
Does that sound okay, Nora?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so make that a condition. Okay, are there any more questions from the public or from members of the board? Is there a motion to approve, what's the number of this? 22-86 with the additional condition that that any signage before we consider the big sign for the building can be administratively approved. If that makes
All right, I'll make the motion to approve 22-86 with administrative approval on any signage.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
Okay, what about the noise situation? If they go out onto the deck?
No, we're not going to approve any outside entertainment.
Right.
Indoor entertainment only.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve 2022-86 with the additional condition. Nora,
Aye.
Tom,
Aye.
Dan,
No,
no? Okay,
no, ma'am. Thank you.
okay. Catherine,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
and I'll vote yes. So 5-1, it is approved. Okay?
Good.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Okay. Administrative matters and new business. Did everybody have a chance to look at the information on the open meeting law that was sent?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions about it? You can move up now.
Come out of timeout.
Closet.
Yeah, timeout. You can pull up your seat there.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question only for my personal information. I got the impression that the warnings to send out people are essentially for governmental boards.
The warnings, yes.
Well, I mean it's for municipal, at least in our case, municipal or state warnings that something is going to be happening with the DRB or the planning board. What other boards in Brattleboro come under that?
Oh, the select board?
Right?
So all boards and committees need
I think
to,
that applies to everything.
Yeah.
yes. The DRB is exceptional though in that statute defines a different warning procedure for us that's more vigorous.
So this like the tree
Everybody-
committee and everything like that is all considered in that open meeting. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
What about, my question is, what about boards outside of municipality? What, just a board that has nothing to do with the municipal?
You mean,
You mean
for,
like a school board?
No,
Just
I'm
that-
thinking of my board, which is the Brattleboro Senior Mills.
oh, it's not covered.
It applies to government.
It's governmental
It only
boards.
applies to government?
That's my
Govern-
understanding. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
I just wanna
governmental
get-
boards.
All right, I just want to get that clarified. Thank you.
Well,
Any
of course,
other?
it's good practice for any board.
Yeah, I mean, you should.
Well, yeah, the thing is that our board meetings are always open to someone who would like to sit in on it, but I do not have to warn people that it's to come to the board meeting.
That's
No.
correct.
Staff takes care of that.
Are there any other questions about the open meeting law as it applies to DRB? The section on the deliberative session is the other part that applies to us.
I guess since you bring that up, I quickly read through that in executive session, and it didn't gel in my mind what the distinction is between those two. Deliberative session and executive session.
Executive session has to be part of the agenda, is that correct?
Yes, it is, but it's limited to specific actions, and because the DRB doesn't actually,
We don't spend any money.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
we never enter executive session.
Oh, so kind of literally means like the executive branch of government, sort of doing.
In this case, it does. We just do deliberative,
Okay.
Yeah.
which
Think of
is
it like that.
consideration of evidence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that makes it easy.
Yeah, we don't have a filibuster.
Right.
Dan's got his hand up.
Dan.
I think that'd be legislative.
Yeah, I'm mostly wondering about everyone's thoughts on what slide is it? 19, slide 19 of the open meeting law stuff. Remote meetings. As long as the public has access to participate in the meeting remotely as well as in person, then I don't, we're not flying in the face of, is it Act 78? But I'm just connecting to the deliberative session that we're recording this meeting and therefore it's accessible. We're not going to be recording deliberative session. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mhm.
That's correct. There will be no public and no press.
So it's closed door, basically.
Yeah.
Right, so it's like an executive.
Understood.
Session. Right.
In the days before COVID, we would all adjourn to the planning department and meet there. But now,
And sorry, go ahead.
it's just we just stop recording.
And but there are no minutes either from those deliberative sessions.
Mm-hmm.
No, there are. The board directs me to draft comments, which is a synopsis of what was considered in the meeting and what the result was, and those are entered into the minutes.
So that
Okay.
transparency is there also.
Yes.
Okay.
We can still vote in deliberative session.
Yes.
Yes, and it has to be reflected in the minutes in the final written decision.
Right, but there's no video of it.
That is correct. It's not public.
That's right. But the public can get a copy of the minutes because they
The minutes will be
They want
posted.
it. Yeah, if they
The
want it,
minutes,
yeah.
the minutes and the decision are public.
Right.
Any other questions? Okay, our next order of business is to elect officers for the next year. And we'll be electing a chair, a vice chair, and a clerk. And so I will take nominations for chair.
I would like to nominate Maya.
I would second that.
Are there any further nominations? Hearing none, I will take nominations for vice chair.
I would give it a shot.
I'd like to nominate Nora.
I would second that.
Are there any other nominations?
Did I hear you correctly, Gary? You wanted to be nominated or to self-nominate yourself?
Self-nominate.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Gary has nominated himself. Is there a second? Sorry, Gary. No second.
I would highly recommend Nora too. She's fabulous. She's phenomenal. Now,
Okay.
clerk, scribe, should I say?
Well, now I would like to nominate Brian.
I'll
Is there a
second.
second?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
It doesn't have to be a member of the body?
no.
Even just
No.
in
Can be
name?
staff.
Oh, that's interesting.
So,
We should do that in the planning commission.
There
yeah.
you go. We already have somebody.
Which we, yeah.
Make,
We have a
make
scribe.
Steve head of the clerk of the planning commission.
We've essentially been in that role.
Yeah. Well, it slowed us. It took like a minute or minute and a half of our meeting just trying to get somebody to accept to be the clerk on the commission. So if we can just-
Okay,
We'll save a
so
minute next year.
we have a slate of nominees. Maya Haskell for chair, Nora Dissinger for vice chair, and Brian Bannon for clerk. And so, if there's no objection, I'd like to vote on it as a group. If that's acceptable.
All three together, we could just vote this.
Slate.
Yeah, just vote on the slate.
Slate.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, Catherine. Okay, Nora,
I
Tom,
Aye.
Dan,
Aye.
Catherine, Gary,
Aye.
Michael,
All right.
and I'll vote yes. So we have our officers for this coming year.
Congratulations all.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Yay!
Team.
Okay,
Dream
so we will now go into deliberative session.
Oh, one last thing on administrative
Oh.
business. I anticipate that next month we'll be doing a site visit to a home on Generous Street as part of an appeal. And I'm warning it for 6:30 and the meeting, then we'll adjourn to the meeting. It's close by, so it should be a quick visit and then get into the public hearing.
On
okay.
what street?
Generous Street.
What's that?
All right, now, that being said, we had talked about the possibility of a site visit to the
William Street.
William Street.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, I hadn't realized that. If the board would like that, I can schedule that warn that for 6. Then we can go to Jenner Street at 6:30. Then the public meeting at 7. And we'll collaborate beforehand on giving rides to anybody who needs rides.
Yes, that sounds fine.
Okay,
We have
great,
Brian Share
excellent.
first, too.
Are we still on administrative matters?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Looking at the rules of procedure, when I've seen conflict of interest statements, they almost always seem limited to financial interest. At least I'm not well versed in them, but the little bit that I have seen. But this one has a category for personal interest. How is that defined? Is it kind
Well-
of vague just by definition?
Michael works for the company that developed.
That sounds like a financial interest.
It's
For
kind
instance, a
of,
board member whose partner is the engineer on a project would have a conflict in would conflict out.
Oh, I see, yeah.
And
Some close personal relationship with the
A
applicant.
close personal relationship.
so to answer your question, an awful lot of that is don't want to have it be even the feeling of impropriety, I guess, is you kind of want to, you really don't want to put the board in a position to be questioned in the, appealed, the decision appealed in the future because there was some connection and they can point at something and say, hey, no.
Yeah. So if a hypothetical person, not me, but was friends with everybody in town, would they have a personal conflict of interest due to a direct or indirect personal interest?
Not unless they had a problem with a specific project. Like you helped your friend figure out landscaping or something.
For purposes of transparency, people state any potential conflict they have. You could say, this is somebody I went to high school with, and then you can state whether you feel it's going to bias you and you won't be able to have an unbiased assessment of the hearing. You can make that statement and ask if anybody in the audience objects or feels that you should not hear the application. And so long as nobody objects, then you can proceed. And if there's any question, just talk to Maya about it, and you can talk to Maya about it as the board proceeds, so the public can understand what's being discussed.
When the Brattleboro, an example, the Brattleboro Music Center was redeveloping their new building out by the Memorial Park. And a number of us have connections.
Right.
My brother-in-law's on the board, we go to concerts, Jim Valenti was chair at the time.
Social connection.
And his daughter takes classes there, so we had just all, and several other people, the same kind of thing. And we just all decided that did not bias us.
Wasn't significant enough.
But we all disclosed it publicly.
Okay.
I think if you had discussed the matter with that person, even if you wouldn't have otherwise felt that your relationship with them or to the project is a conflict of interest, I believe part of the script of the
That's
meeting
an ex parte.
is to
ex parte.
disclose any potential ex parte communications that you had. And I don't know if that requires you to recuse yourself, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
Any
So if
ex
you're
parte
part of-
does?
Yeah, so if you're part of an organization, just like with human services, the same thing. Part of an organization, you can't vote on particular grants for particular organizations. So if you're part of, say, Groundworks, you would have to pass that vote or that information on to someone else. It's similar with this. So if there's any vested interest, I believe it is. And that's a line too. I guess that's why I always put an email either you or Brian to say, I have some type of relations with this organization or with this, and you would decide whether or not it's of best interest to vote or recluse oneself, which is good.
Yeah, James used to recuse himself if he just happened to be an attorney, a client that was not his client, but a client in his law firm, and he would recuse himself.
Yeah. I mean, I certainly understand the financial interest component of conflict of interest, but this board's definition has 4 different categories. 2 or 3 of them are new to me. That's why
It's broader.
A lot of it's common sense, You just don't want to put.
Can we get to what we're doing?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So
I feel well
I
answered.
Father to somebody that's questioning the board's decision.
Yeah.
So it's the honor system, basically.
Yeah. Okay. The meeting is 8:35, and we are. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting
I'll
and
make
to
that
move
motion.
into deliberative session? Michael made the motion. Is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn and go into deliberative session.